Should we dive into Dave Filoni, or Dave full of baloney is what we're going to call him moving forward?
I don't even think it's a but. Like, he just straight up says none.
We went from triangle boobies to full-on voluptuous Tomb Raiders.
You're not allowed to say voluptuous. I mean, Rosario Dawson's pretty cute.
Mimi Marquez, clouded only in bubble wrap.
Bryant, stop with the youngling slang.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scruffy Nerf Herder Podcast. My name is Bryant, joined with
Robby.
me, Mr. Back Scratching Robby.
I feel like the other day when we talked about replacing body parts,
Okay.
you know, you said like you would replace your arms. My fingers, I said, that'd be good, man. You imagine getting a stretch back there?
Yeah. If they were like go-go gadget fingers and they could extend.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make up for the fact that you had something really cool to say and mine was just really, really lame.
Well, the frosting on the cake, if you will, was when we were hanging out together and we were with Brendan, our mutual friend, Scruffy Nerf Herder alumni. He also said, "Oh yeah, do my legs." He's like, "Who the fuck would do their fingers?" Like,
I just like twisted the knives like deeper. Just you're an idiot.
yeah.
But...
And 1 minute in, first F-bomb. I apologize. That'll be the last one of the night. But I got a question for you. So my wife shot this question to me this week, and I thought it would be a lot harder to answer, but it wasn't. If you were given the choice to, someone walks up to you tomorrow and they say, "Mr. Robert Rice, we're going to give you the opportunity to go to space or star in the upcoming Star Wars movie," what would it be?
Star in the upcoming Star Wars movie?
Okay, I'm not alone.
You said the same thing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Why would like ask me the last person who went to space? Can't tell you.
Pete Davidson, right? He went to space, I
What?
think. Or did Kanye like messed with that or something?
I don't know, man. I had no clue. And you know what? I get it. I get like being one of the few people that maybe have actually gone into space. Maybe you can actually relive. Do you think they let them bring lightsabers up there?
That would be part of my rule. Like, if I'm gonna go, I have to have one.
Like, I'm gonna be Star Wars up in space.
Yeah,
that is a good question, but I feel like the answer is pretty easy. And if you disagree, let me know why.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I immediately said Star Wars movie, but then I was like, it would have to be star in a Star Wars movie. Like, if they were like, you're gonna be in a Star Wars movie and you're just like background actor for, I'd probably take space. Take space.
Now I'm second guessing myself, because when you think about them making a movie, typically they're not on location with Star Wars movies. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like you'd be acting in front of a lot of green screens and blue screens. And so you really wouldn't see the final product of you being on Star Wars until the movie comes out.
But you're still in a Star Wars
just immortalized
movie
forever. What if like the movie that you're in is just so bad it just ruins Star Wars forever? Like, everybody stops being a fan after that. And it's the movie that you're in.
You just hope that
risk.
18 years down the road, a bunch of kids loved it and they come along and just love it. And that's actually a perfect segue into kind of something we need to talk about this week, because you sent me a very, very controversial video, in my opinion.
I'd say a disgruntled fan. You could say fan. I feel like you wouldn't be upset about this unless you were a fan of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy, I believe his name was, oh gosh, what was it?
Grumpy Grumperston 46.
He had fantastic points. So essentially what he was doing is saying, hey, let me go ahead and explain to you J.J. Abrams' attempt at a final battle scene in Star Wars. And it was referring to the massive Star Destroyer fight with the, what are they called? They're not called the Rebels. They're called the Resistance. and he's just going down this whole long list of how that end scene didn't really make sense. And in all honesty, I didn't even think about any of that, like what he was pointing out as it was going on. Do we have it pulled up?
Yeah, I have it. Hold on, I can pull it up.
He does swear a lot, so fair warning if you are sensitive ears.
Yeah, I dropped the first F-bomb, so that should have been a warning.
I present to you J.J. Abrams trying to make a high-stakes final battle scene. So, we have like 1,000 Star Destroyers on Exegol versus a flimsy fleet from the Resistance. That sounds like we lose, but there's a key factor. They have no shields on Exegol, and Poe makes it clear that the reason for that is you cannot activate shields until you are above atmosphere. That is something that Poe says. I didn't know that was fucking true, but apparently that's a rule now. Even though the troopers had shields on their tread speeders in Pisana, even though the war at the beginning of the 5th movie began with the Empire trying to destroy a shield generator that was protecting a base in the atmosphere of a planet. And even with that insanity, we haven't won yet. What would stop the Death Star destroyers from just going up above the atmosphere? They'll get their shields back and there's still like 1,000 of them. Well, Poe has an answer for that.
Ships that size need help taking off. Nav can't tell which way's up out there.
Nav can't tell which way is up out there? Are you fucking yanking my chain? The ships can't tell which way is up. Fucking up. How about you look out the fucking window, you turbo cunt? How the fuck would they not be able to tell how to go fucking up? If you guys can tell which way is up, then surely they fucking can. They have windows. You just need to go in the opposite direction of gravity. Can we please get a helium balloon for each
I think that kind of gets the gist of what we're talking about, right?
He proceeds to explain how the only way to essentially keep them from going up into the atmosphere is by destroying a little radio tower that can tell them how to go up. Where if that was really the reason, don't you think they would not be all like perfectly in line? Don't you think they'd maybe be like, you'd have some that were like upside down, twisted?
100%. Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things where even watching a lot of Star Wars movies, it's something you don't really think about, but when they're flying into space and typically they're coming up to a planet, they come in what you would assume is straight. They see the planet and then they go straight down. And then a lot of times they'll turn like almost upside down to land on the planet, which makes sense, but it's almost like it weirds you out because you're like, so were they flying upside down the whole time?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Why were they? I mean, obviously things space travel people like us haven't done. So
right, we'll have to get somebody from NASA to come on and like.
If only we knew somebody.
Yeah. We talked about this like off podcast, but like I had a hard time with this video because like obviously the sequels I think are great movies. Like I think they're great Star Wars films. But I also look at it like they're not perfect. They're not, but neither are the original Star Wars movies, and none of them are. Like, if we're really going to get cynical, you're telling me that like the first Death Star had a flaw in it that would blow up the entire ship, and then you're going to build the Death Star again and put a similar flaw in there where they can blow up the ship again. Like, there's cynical parts where I'm like, and I think the way I said it to you was like, if your goal is to be cynical, like obviously everything is gonna have you're gonna have an issue with everything in this movie. And at some point, I'm like, I don't know. I struggled with the video. I mean, he made solid points. I agree, it was funny, but I'm just like, I don't know.
He made out with his sister, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, if you really what am I trying to say? If you really dive deep and look into really any movie, you can absolutely find some issues with pretty much every movie. I think what was kind of the issue with this one is he made so many good points that it was almost like when they came up with the story and the reason behind this big, giant, massive battle, it was almost like they weren't listening to reason. And the fact that they were putting certain lines in there, and that we didn't get to that in the clip here, but it was like Poe was explaining, they can't, Navcom can't tell which way's up, and it's like, what? That just doesn't make sense. But okay, it's good for the story because we got to have some sort of battle, below the atmosphere, and why they don't have shields and why it's possible to kill them. And again, even like your whole point with the Death Star, the Star Destroyers were getting blown up by shooting a gun that was on the bottom of the Star Destroyer. They would come up and shoot that gun, the whole ship would blow up, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
So
and then later on in the clip, one of the points that made me laugh was like, he's like, they have to have this satellite to make the ships rise, but then one of the captains like, well, I'll just guide the ships out, and he's like, why didn't you just do that to begin with? Like, if that was a solution, why didn't you just do it? Yeah,
it just seemed like I don't want to say sloppy writing, but almost like, I don't know, almost like somebody read it, whatever the editors that proofread it before they confirmed that yes, this is a story. It was almost like they just weren't paying attention to that type of stuff. And
yeah, and it's something that I think the last 3 movies definitely struggle with the most, is because especially like when you have someone like George Lucas come out and be like, this wasn't my original vision for what the final movies were going to be, and like Disney kind of went on their own. And there's even clips of like J.J. Abrams who are like, we're not going to listen to George Lucas for the final movies because what George Lucas wanted to do is what made the prequels bad. But what I always go back to is something you actually mentioned to me, is that like your dad, when he watched the prequels, he was like, these are terrible, but then like for me, that's my Star Wars. Like that's what I grew up on. And even though 7, 8, 9, it really wasn't for me. There was a moment when I was at Galaxy's Edge, we went on Rise of the Resistance, and there was a little kid who was probably like 8 years old on the ride. And when Finn popped out in his stormtrooper costume, you would have sworn this dude saw Luke Skywalker. He was so freaking excited. He's like, that's Finn. And it's like, that's really who these movies are for. And it'll be interesting, like 10, 12 years from now, to see if 7, 8, 9 are held in like a different breath of air than there are held today.
Possibly. Yeah, absolutely. Because, just like you said, my dad always said he hated the first 3. And controversial to you, he said he really hated Jar Jar Binks. Like that was his biggest issue. But as a kid, I loved Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
I loved the first 3 in chronological order, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Episode 1, 2, and 3, because again, I was a kid, and it was. I'll tell you, it was rough. We'll have to talk about that with him when we bring him on the show sometime, because he would always say, "Oh, they're terrible, and he was so excited for them. Much like I was super excited when Episode 7 was coming out. I can't tell you how many times I watched that trailer for The Force Awakens, because I was just like, "Oh my god!" and I'm getting chills just even thinking back to that moment. But as a kid watching Episode 1, 2, and 3, I was like, "This is incredible." And he was just like, "This is terrible." And I'm like, what do you mean? This is amazing. How can you think this is terrible? Like, your lightsaber fights are like this, and I just watched Yoda do flips around this guy.
Yeah. Hashtag not my Star Wars.
So, well, yeah, we'll see. You might have a good point. I don't hate 7, 8, and 9. I think there's pretty awesome moments in a lot of them. I think the concept of Kylo Ren is actually a really cool idea for a villain. I just feel like they were all over the place with him.
Yeah.
But
again, man, like I always come back to this, and I know I've said it a couple times on this show, but like there's a book that they came out with last year, and I think it's called like Shadows of the Sith, and it literally is what Episode 7 should have been, where Luke is founding the school, and it like gives you an understanding of where we are at nowadays. And then it goes into like Rey's parents, and how one of them is a clone of Palpatine, and you get this whole story. And it's one of those, I'm like, man, this is really where it should have went. But I don't know. The other issue is like I hold that battle scene in such a fond place, because like I always felt that was like Star Wars's end game moment, that like you know Cap is there, he's like tired, and he's like on your left, and Falcon comes in, and like there's a line in that scene where they're like, oh, what are they going to do? They're going to send out a help or something, and then literally the entire galaxy shows up to fight the Empire. And it's such a cool moment, but it's like, yeah, it's a very flawed film, and it's just a testament of like how, I don't know, hopefully when they do more trilogies, they just do it differently. That's all I can hope for.
I think they're going for the right concept. Like you said, visually, seeing that many Star Destroyers up against the small Resistance force, you were like, oh, okay, they're going to get wrecked. And then obviously they had to make some sort of way for them not to just get destroyed immediately, because in previous movies, one Star Destroyer is terrifying. 3 of them is like, oh gosh, this is like a force. When you had hundreds, thousands of them that were there, it's like, oh, okay, what are we going to do? So yeah, I also love that part where all of essentially any Resistance allied galaxy just comes flying in through hyperspace. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, Babu Freak, man.
I love Babu Frick. I freaking love that little guy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's just so fantastic. He's like, Babu, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then he's like, Babu Frick, my oldest companion.
Yeah. There's the guy who posted this video. Also, my understanding is he's done it for the entire movie. So like he goes and just complains about the entire movie and everything on that end. And like, one of them was like, when Poe sees a stormtrooper fly, and he's like, "They fly now," and he's like, "Is he just now understanding the concept of a jetpack? Like, obviously, they can fly." Like,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I saw Force Awakens probably, I'm gonna say maybe like 5 or 6 times. Last Jedi I probably saw 2 or 3, but the Rise of Skywalker I think only saw once. I saw it in theaters and I just haven't seen it again. And it's not that I don't want to. Like I said, I was watching all the Star Wars movies again with my daughter, and we're done with the episode 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And I don't know. I haven't gone back to start 7, 8, 9, and I don't know. I don't know why. We just haven't. So we need to. I think maybe I'd like to do that. I might have more to say about them. Maybe on a future Scruffy Nerf Herder podcast. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's something that we can obviously like pursue, because like the Skywalker saga, it'd be easy to do. It's only 9 episodes, right? But like in the same sense, I also think it'd be interesting to do like a watch along where like it's literally just us sitting there talking about the movie as it's going on, because
mystery science theater.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, right, the majority of people out there, especially the people listening to this, have probably seen those movies. So us talking about it or us talking during the movies probably wouldn't be hated. I don't know. It's definitely something I want to go into, is like the Skywalker saga and kind of pursue that, because it is interesting. Especially, I was going to talk about this later, but like I watched 4, 5, 6 this week. So New Hope,
all 3,
Empire, and Return of the Jedi. So I got to my hotel room around like 6 p.m. last night, and TNT was running a marathon of all 3 of them back to back. And so I watched them, and there's things where I'm like, oh, that doesn't hold up today. But like, there's other things that I'm like, I still don't know how they did that. Like, I'm just amazed by the movie and what they pulled off in the 70s. But there are things that there's a line that made me crack up, and it's in I think it's in Return of the Jedi, where Yoda's like, when gone am I the last of the Jedi I will be, or something like that. And I was like, hold up, you got Ahsoka, you got Ezra, you got Sabine, you got Grogu, you got Leia, and I'm like,
hold on there, 1976 Yoda, you need to calm down.
yeah. And like, obviously we know more now, but like, I'm just like, I'm trying to like retcon that and like figure it out in my brain, but I'm like, did Yoda just not have any connection with the Force at that point, where he was just not talking to other Jedi? But
obviously those characters, I mean, wouldn't the first one come out 77?
Yeah.
So Return of the Jedi was probably let's say 5, 6 years later, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure how spaced apart those movies are, but obviously back then they didn't know how much further they were going to dive into the series, and it kind of goes back to what we're saying. You comb through all the movies and find an issue with all of them. Do you remember when at the end of Return of the Jedi it wasn't Hayden Christensen as the Force Ghost? Do you remember that guy that was there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. There's so many things I remember too, and I remember back in like the late 90s, I want to say, is when they kind of released all the old Star Wars, but like added in things. So they added in like some of the what are they called? Those big like
Dune backs or whatever.
Yeah, that they like kind of ride. Like, and there's some Stormtrooper edits in there. There's that song that was added into the beginning of Return of the Jedi, which I don't know if was needed. Like, I can't ever remember a time where I was watching that and I was like, "This is fun. This is."
You know what this movie's missing is a musical number.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't hate it. I just don't love it, definitely. But
yeah,
I think that was something that, because when I had COVID and I was in the hospital for quite a while, same thing. They were doing a Star Wars marathon, but it was not like what you saw. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding when I say I watched Episode 2, and then I watched Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
immediately after. Okay, then it went back to New Hope, and I was like, oh, maybe they're starting over like the original 3. Nope. Yeah. It went to Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace, and then it went to Empire Strikes Back. And I was like,
oh my God.
And I watched them all, but I was just like, what is happening? My brain was just like trying to.
Whoever was in charge of programming that day was like, I choose violence today.
Yeah, I was so confused because I fully thought they were going to be in order. And I was kind of bummed because, like I said, when I first started watching, I think it was Attack of the Clones. It was the first one, and I was like, "Oh, I missed Phantom Menace, but whatever. I'll watch Revenge of the Sith. That'll be cool." And then when it just jumped to like Return of the Jedi, I was like, "What? What are we
There's
doing?"
a lot of context we're missing here.
Holy cow, man! So, but yeah, who knows? I mean, like you said, there might be some. I don't want to say it, but maybe there's some new trilogy of movies, Star Wars movies that come out that people just hate, and then are like 7, 8, 9 were fantastic.
You know, my biggest wish for Star Wars right now, and this is probably because we grew up in that generation that got the original trilogy kind of remastered in a way, is I want them to do that to 1, 2, and 3. And I understand that that's probably a Star Wars cardinal sin, but I want them to go back and redo those movies with modern day CGI.
Okay. Do you think the CGI was that bad back then?
I put it this way. Okay. Episode 1, 2, and 3 came out when the PlayStation 2 was a console. We are now on the PlayStation 5.
Okay.
Fair enough. If you take a game from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 5, even Tomb Raider, apologies to the female audience, we went from triangle boobies to full-on voluptuous Tomb Raiders. So yeah.
You're not allowed to say voluptuous. You take that back. You animal.
Yes. So yes, I think that there's plenty of room to remaster those movies.
Hey, I'm down to see some Padme, you know what I'm saying? If they're gonna
Yeah.
So are you saying redo the games, or are you saying redo the movies?
Redo the movies.
Really? See, I don't know. You don't think they hold up?
No, I think they hold up, but I just think that there's things that they could do to clean it up a little bit. Similar to like what, like obviously I don't want them to put in musical numbers and ad scenes, but like when you look at the Gungans are like, oh, that's definitely CGI. Like you can improve that. The lava scene at the end of episode 3, I still think is one of the best CGI scenes that they've ever done. But like, there's things in episode 1 and episode 2. Like, here's a prime example: Clone Wars. Attack of the Clones. If you go back to Attack of the Clones, that movie's CGI is rough. Like, really rough. Especially the final battle scene where the troopers are running at each other and, like, the droids are fighting. That scene does not hold up to today's standards.
See, so one thing I think they did really well with those 3 is really showing the expansive Star Wars universe. Obviously, with A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, we see A New Hope, we see a lot of Tatooine. We see, in the second one, we see Cloud City, Hoth. We see, what else? Endor on Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks. So, I mean, they did a good job then too of showing different locations, things like that. And I just love that they expanded on that further. Obviously, we still see Tatooine a lot in 1, 2, and 3, but them going to places like, Naboo, which, frankly, I love the concept, especially as a kid, of the Gungans. a civilization living in like a lake, like with this whole crazy looking underwater city with these massive, crazy like sea monsters in the lake. Like I thought it was just so cool as a kid. Like even now, I still think it's awesome. One of my favorite scenes is that scene where Jar Jar, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon are in that little water thing swimming through, and there's just a bigger fish, and they even make a comment like there's always a bigger fish. Yep. It truly gets bigger and bigger, and I'm like, holy cow. Like I love that so much. And I loved Geonosis, is that what it's called? Where they have that fight. I think that planet and the Geonosians are really interesting. I think a lot of that stems from like me playing a lot of Battlefront as well. So I love the different planets we're seeing. Even just recently this week when we saw on Ahsoka, we saw a new planet, and it was, it was just nature, like seeing different trees, and it was just like, this is so cool. So
yeah,
I just love it. I love Star Wars universe. I love
it. Speaking of Ahsoka, do you got Ahsoka fever?
What does that mean?
Everywhere I turn, I see Ahsoka. Everywhere.
Really?
And yeah, like for example, Fortnite. Ahsoka is officially coming to Fortnite.
No way.
This got announced this week, and it brought me back in. I am officially a Battle Pass owner of Fortnite, because that's the only way you can get Ahsoka. Now, here's the tea, because Epic Games, I'm very upset with them right now. They make the announcement that Ahsoka is coming to Fortnite, and that if you buy the Battle Pass, you get her. So you just got to buy the Battle Pass and you get her. However, I buy the Battle Pass, and I get to the page where Ahsoka is, and it goes, will be unlocked in 33 days.
Days?
Yep. 33 days.
You have to wait 33 days to play as her?
Yep.
So she's not really in the game yet?
Not technically, yeah. So yeah, she's not in yet.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was going to say I need to, re-download Fortnite and hop on there to get, because I did that for when they did Vader.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, heck yeah. I'm playing as Vader. Heck yeah. And one of my favorite things still is having like the Imperial March playing as any character, and he's just walking.
So they haven't announced like any of the accessories, like or like the emotes or anything like that, but like I gotta assume her pickaxe is gonna be like 2 lightsabers, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And then
what else would it be?
Maybe something we see in the show, and that's why they're delaying it 33 days.
What if she just uses like things on her head, like her little tentacle things, and she just smacks? That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. Backpack wise, I was thinking maybe Chopper, but I don't know.
Dude, I'm all on board with Chopper, man.
Yeah,
Chopper's he's a real one, as they say.
Yeah. But then like gliders, I have no idea like what they could do for a glider or emotes or anything from that perspective, but
maybe her ship.
Ooh. That would be
they did like Millennium Falcon, they did like TIE fighters before.
Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool, like just to see, like, as a fan of Ahsoka from the Clone Wars and what I saw there, it's like it's kind of neat to see her popularity grow and kind of like it continue to like expand all over the place. But it's weird because there was such a drought. Like I remember when we went to Disney and we were looking for Ahsoka stuff, and like they didn't have anything. And now you're like, you can buy the tentacles, you can buy the Mickey Mouse ears, like anything Ahsoka related, you can definitely get there. It's
I misunderstood your question when you said, do I have Ahsoka fever? I was like, I mean, Rosario Dawson's pretty cute. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Like I've always kind of like had a thing for her. So
Mimi Marquez, clouded only in bubble wrap. That's a deep cut that only certain people will get there.
Yeah. Yep. Comment down below if you know what that is.
Yeah, and if Rosario Dawson's watching, just know we're fans.
Hey, we'd love to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Love to have you. Love to, let us know what you think. You can bring the outfit or not. It's up to you.
Yeah, you don't have to go through wardrobe and face paint. Just come on the show. Yeah. On the topic of Ahsoka, though, you also sent me another video that I just wanted to dive into because It's very interesting. So after the first episode and second episode, there's a lot of people who watched Ahsoka and were like, oh, this seems very familiar, specifically extremely familiar to an old movie that I've never seen. So I just want to pull up this video real quick. So this is the video you sent me. Oh, sorry.
So you've never seen this movie?
I've never seen Treasure Planet. I only watched good Star Wars or good Disney movies when I was watching it.
Don't you stop right now. Play the clip.
I mean, yeah, it's cool, but everything kind of looks familiar, and I don't really understand why. Wait a minute.
We got the orb, the star map.
Just listen to the music. Tell me you don't want to watch this based on the music alone.
It is good music.
It's literally Treasure Planet.
Look, there's Ezra.
This was the clip that I was like, okay, I see it. You got the galaxy, the star map.
Chopper.
Yeah. I feel like I'm seeing the first episode of Ahsoka right here. Ooh.
The map is literally an identical ball from Treasure Planet, and it leads them to a cliffside where they open the map to try to find the person. It's Treasure Planet. Oh my god.
She's got a point.
I've never seen Treasure Planet.
So that's your homework, man. I think you would really enjoy it. I really do. It's a great movie. It's definitely an underrated Disney movie.
Okay. I remember specifically, I remember like the Burger King toys for Treasure Planet, but never saw it.
Yeah, some homework, man. I have 2 days and some hours of Clone Wars to catch up on. You need to watch a 1.5 hour movie.
Speaking of which, should we dive into Dave Filoni? Or Dave full of baloney is what we're going to call him moving forward. I felt so guilty because, all right, so if you haven't listened to Tano Cast, obviously this isn't going to make sense to you, but going into Ahsoka, I shared with Robby that you don't need to see Rebels. You don't need to see Clone Wars. In fact, some Star Wars executive threw out there that, it's not necessary. Just watch Ahsoka as it is. And we both finished the first 2 episodes thinking we've made a massive mistake. Like, we should have watched Rebels. And I went the entire week thinking, like, did I make that up in my head? Because I definitely feel like I saw an article that said it, but like I couldn't figure out who the executive was. And we literally just talked about this on the last episode. Why don't you share with everybody which Disney executive and Star Wars executive said you don't need to watch Rebels?
So Mr. Dave, full of baloney,
Yes.
right here on looper.com is where I'm getting this. According to Filoni himself, when asked, do you need to see any of Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, in order to understand Ahsoka? And it says, Mastermind Dave Filoni. According to Filoni himself, the answer is none.
All right, stop right there. Stop right there. Okay. We live in 2023, okay? And we live in the world of clickbait articles and when people take things out of context. Understand, I just heard that comment. That's all I read. Now, if I would have known, he would have had a but at the end of it. Carry on.
I don't even think it's a but. Like, he just straight up says none. None. Do you need to have watched any of Star Wars Rebels to understand Ahsoka? The answer is none. Period. That's all it says. Just kidding. Now, it says when the showrunner was asked, he said you wouldn't need to watch any, although he quickly added, you really should. And then he says, while the new series is intended to play just fine for audience with no Rebels familiarity, Filoni did recommend a few specific parts of the show for anyone who wants a more complete experience. If you just watched season 4, he says, you'd be set. So, I mean, we kind of talked about it in the Ahsoka or Tano cast that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of that plays into the emotions that you experience with this show, with the Ahsoka show.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to like, hey, you don't need to watch any of Star Wars 1, 2, and 3 to understand the Obi-Wan series, but you really should. Like, could you make an argument there?
Well, yeah, but here's the issue there, and like this is me getting like deep in the weeds.
All right,
Obi-Wan,
hold on, let me get comfortable. Here we go. All right,
Obi-Wan at least had a recap in the beginning, and it was a badass recap if you remember.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So if Ahsoka would have just done that and just said like, here's what you need to know, I feel like that 90% of the complaints out there would be gone. But like, I legit thought that quote came from somebody like, just somebody at Lucasfilms, just some random PR agent who was trying to make more people watch it. But when you told me it was Dave Filoni, I was like, how can the creator of that literally just be like, yeah, you don't need to see that? I'm like, dude, you're so involved with this show. Like, you have to have known that, like, you definitely should. You definitely should watch it. And I still stand by that. Watch Rebels before you watch Ahsoka.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, unfortunately, kind of goes for a lot of shows. You know, if you're going to be watching these, I don't want to say spin-offs, but it's almost like if you're going to watch an expansion of a story, why not, you know, fully understand the story? Why don't you go back and watch it? I mean, and the thing is like, I'm watching Ahsoka. I haven't seen Rebels, but I feel like I know enough to kind of know who Ahsoka is. Mm-hmm. Apparently, you know, not all people out there believe that you need to watch the history of a show in order to understand a new and upcoming show. Maybe he was afraid that if he had said, yes, you need to, maybe he was afraid people wouldn't watch it.
Or Mickey Mouse would take him behind the shed and beat the crap out of him.
I can't do that. Can't do that. That was not Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
That was just the way I laugh. I don't want to get the mouse come after me, okay? So he's...
Hold on, I'm going to close my eyes and do it again.
Come here, Filoni.
Mickey?
No, not Mickey.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's not...
That's a trademark. We can't say that.
Can't do that.
Steamboat Willie?
Mm-hmm. Hiya, pal. It's your old pal, Steamboat.
Yeah, 100%, guys. We got Steamboat Willie. We couldn't get Rosario, but we got Steamboat Willie this week.
So yeah, you know what? You were not wrong. Don't feel bad, okay?
I do.
You clearly heard it somewhere. The answer was none. You don't have to watch any, and we believed it, and now we feel like fools.
Yep, I feel vindicated now that I know I didn't just completely make up some story
in my head. Did that truly make you feel better? As soon as you heard that, you're like, oh, thank goodness.
It did. There was the sense of relief where I was like, oh, thank God I didn't make that up in my head. But like, and I was actually looking into the comments on the podcast to see if anybody would be like, who the hell said that? Nobody said that. But like, I don't know. I was relieved, but then when I heard it was Filoni, I was like, that's such a weird thing for him to say. But I get it. Like, yeah. And again, this is kind of where we left it at TanoCast. Is like, we're 3 episodes in at this point. Who knows? By the end of episode 8, we're going to be like, oh yeah, you definitely don't need to see Rebels. Like, this is a kick-ass show. Like, they do a good job of establishing the characters in the first 3 episodes or something like that. So,
yeah, I mean, like I said, even though I've never seen it, I understand what they're trying to go, the direction they're trying to go. You know what I mean? I understand that who the characters are that they're trying to explain and develop. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So, one of my favorite parts of the show, TikToks. We got a big week of TikToks this week. So I've got a total of 8 TikToks.
8?
8.
Holy cow, man. All right. Hey, let's get started, man. Let's not waste any more time.
So one of them was actually submitted by an audience member and a friend of the show, Nico, who we both know.
Oh, what's up, Nico?
So shout out to Nico. This one was one that actually she sent me, and I thought it was perfect timing because we've been talking a lot about rebooting Clonecast, and this goes perfectly alongside that.
Perfect.
The 7 stages of watching the Clone Wars. Homie's invested now.
Oh yeah, he's comfortable. Oh, he's in it.
He's bought the helmet. He's in. 70s. Oh.
Oh man.
And I got to be honest with you, it's the perfect encapsulation of that show because first 4 seasons, it needs time to cook. But once you get into 5, 6, 7, man, like especially 7 is such a fantastic season.
I can't wait, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're gonna have to dive back into that and dive back in hard. So, thank you, Nico, for that one. You actually submitted some TikToks this week. We got one of them right here, which is one of our new favorite robot, Mr. Chopper.
Yes, my boy.
Can't just shoot it down; it would crash into the port city.
I just love it because he's like, "Is that bad?" Wow,
I love that you can somewhat understand what he's saying. Like, it's so funny, and what's even funnier, I think, is I've seen a lot of TikToks recently about that scene in particular where Chopper's kind of like talking, and funny enough, it's almost like people interpret it differently. Like somebody like that one, it said, "Is that bad?" And I saw one that was like, "Yeah, so and," and it was like different ways of him being like, "Yeah, okay, and," like, and so I was like, that's funny. Like, it's all how you interpret it, and that's what I think makes it so great is you almost can understand what he's saying. It sounds muffled, and it's like you're almost interpreting what you want to hear or what you think he's saying. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, there was one I saw earlier, and I think it was like a Reels or something like that, and I couldn't save it, but it was basically a guy watching Chopper and hearing his voice, and he's like, "Do I understand droid now?" And like he immediately goes back to the other ones, and he's like listening to R2, and he's like, "What are you trying to say?"
That's fantastic.
Do I understand droid? So
understand droid?
For those of you listening at home, obviously what we just watched was Chopper saying that we should kill citizens underneath us by letting a ship crop, and it's turning into a little kind of a badass. Chopper is a war criminal in Rebels because like he's such a villain for the Empire that he's considered a war criminal, and I think the evidence is starting to pile up, specifically with this video right here.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Chopper. Oh man. I've seen so little of Chopper, but I love him so much. You can get Chopper at Galaxy's Edge, can't you?
You can. And they've got a little voice modulation the kit
Does he sound like
as well. Wah, wah, wah. Just
amazing.
Full on.
Fantastic.
Let's see what else we got. This one, as a Lego fan and as a Star Wars Lego fan, this one kind of hit home for me this week.
Guess your mommy. No, I'm all right.
He not only dropped the ship, but then someone put in the clip of the of the X-wing pilot blowing
What's
up.
his name? What do they call him? Porky? Pork chop?
Something like that, man.
God, no.
Oh man, poor kid. Poor kid.
Oh man, that was that. Yeah, I was already kind of freaking out because I was like, "Oh no, not the Legos!" And then that was funny.
Yeah, he was running with the Lego ship, and I thoroughly enjoy videos. Some of them are staged, but I thoroughly enjoy the videos where people are holding Lego sets and they accidentally drop them. Just because it's like, it's like Fraudenscheid, where I'm like, oh, that's not happening to me. Definitely.
That's just painful to me because I have a lot of Star Wars Legos, and the time it takes to put those together and how fulfilled you feel when you're done with them. For that to fall and break into a bunch of pieces would just be heartbreaking.
Yeah, BD1 took me, I think, like 6 hours to build.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so if that if that broke, I'd probably have a major issue. You want some whiny Anakin Skywalker in your life this week?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everybody loves a little whiny Anakin, right? Let's pop this up.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back!
Not Colonel Sanders.
The Dumla Obligata.
Oh my gosh, man. 2 movies I never thought I would see put together.
Nope. Did you ever know that that Happy Gilmore was in the Star Wars universe?
Right. I never. I don't know. I guess I just didn't realize how whiny he sounded in that moment. Like the build up to it, he kind of like gets real into it. And by the end of it, it's almost like you can somewhat understand the emotion. But just playing that at the height of him being emotional like that, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I've debated having like a TikTok account where I do like Star Wars out of context, where like you literally just take scenes like that and it's just like, oh, like he is kind of a whiny little bitch. Same thing with Luke. Like as badass as Luke is, he has some very whiny things that he says throughout the movie.
Yeah, sorry, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, but you have probably you're a fan of the Toks and you're a fan of the Vine, so you have probably seen the video of the dudes debating about like the Wizard of Oz. Where he's like, Galinda was the good witch. She was literally in a bubble, bro. Yeah. This next video,
are you blind?
100% same energy as that one. So.
Love it.
As a child, and that
who cares?
Listen.
Oh, it's a real important part of the story. You have to see him as a child.
Yes, because it makes it more dramatic. It makes it more dramatic when he turns, Tom. Am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Am I wrong?
You're 1,000,000% wrong.
Am I wrong?
I think those are the exact same words. Oh, grow up. Am I wrong?
Oh, we need to know about him when he's a kid. Like, my challenge to you, internet, is we have T-shirts of the bubble guys arguing. I want a T-shirt with those two guys arguing, just like what they're saying.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, am I wrong?
That's great.
Yeah,
grow up. I love the guy that's like arguing about like the 10-year-old in Star Wars saying grow up.
Well, the other favorite part that I have about this is there's a friend. Let's see if I can get it.
And that who cares? Listen.
Oh, it's a real important part of the story. You have to see him as a child.
This dude, who's literally like, he's like, I'm in a moment right now, and I need to get this on camera.
Just filming. They're just like,
am I wrong?
Look at this argument taking place.
They both got guitars. One's a drummer, and they're fighting about Phantom Menace. And
oh man,
am I wrong?
Grow up?
Yeah.
When we have a heated debate, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, just
grow up.
When the laundry is done drying, but it has to be folded and put away.
I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
That is my wife. 1,000%. Actually, that's me too. Actually, I'm pretty sure I have a pile of laundry in my room that's folded up, ready to be put away. I just haven't put it away.
I literally will fold laundry. I'll put it on hangers, but I'm like, I can't put it in the closet. It's just gonna sit here. And then throughout the week, I just pick from the pile.
Pick and stack, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, you know what? Galaxy far, far away. They haven't figured it out either, apparently.
Bro, I saw a machine that can wash, dry, and fold your clothes.
What?
It's like a 3-in-1 machine, and I'm like, we're getting to the Jetsons.
Wow.
I can't wait.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Alexa, fold my clothes.
Ooh. I'm waiting to see if Alexa goes off in the background and saying, I cannot do that. Would you like to know dry cleaners in your area?
Yeah.
Final one. It's kind of just out there, but we were talking about owning some lightsabers last week, and this one is titled "The Most Advanced Lightsaber in the World." So let's pop this one up. This is actually really dope, and I'd love to get my hands on this if they'd like to send me one.
This lightsaber costs $700 and is my most advanced saber in my collection, but let's see if it can hold up to that price tag. Let's just start with the absolute best thing about this saber, the OLED screen on the side, which lets you play games on it. I can play Tetris, Space Invaders, Pong, or I can just watch the entire original Star Wars movie A New Hope in 8-bit.
Okay.
No way.
Watch the movie in 8-bit. That's so awesome. That's so incredible.
What is the purpose of the... I want to see somebody on a plane next to me that's just like this. What are you doing? None of that? Just watching Star Wars?
Yeah. Sir, I don't think I can let you go through security with that.
What do you mean? I'm just watching Star Wars. That's all I'm doing. That's freaking awesome.
But wait, there's more.
There's more?
You can put custom display pieces on the OLED for specific fonts, like when Anakin chopped up all those kids.
No. Brian, stop with the youngling slaying.
It has shrouds at the top of the emitter, which can be removed for a different style, and it also comes with the best soundboard on the market, Crystal Focus.
Homie's getting it.
That dude definitely is skilled.
I can't do that. What a
1
random
minute
ending.
long. Yeah, it is a little bit weird.
Half
He's
of it
like,
was just him dancing in the street.
let me show you how cool I look. Everyone come look at how cool I am. With my $700 tax write-off.
Yeah, that I have a bootleg copy of Star Wars on the hill.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely a dope lightsaber. I forgot that it had the kids, but that's pretty dope.
You're keeping true to your promise you made about slaying younglings.
Every week it's got a youngling death. But yeah, $700 lightsaber, and I mean, I can't get myself to spend that. Like Galaxy Edge was pushing it at like 200, but
have you seen the retractable one? The one that goes up and down?
Is that the one that they have, like, that Disney created?
Had at the Star Wars, what was that hotel called?
Star
Cruiser.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they use it in like the show there. And it's funny because like they use it and then it like goes up and then she like bends down and grabs the other one that she can fight with. But I'm like, when are they coming out with that? I would love to have that. I would love to have an actual, not an already piece there, but just holding a hilt and then pulling that out and just, that would just be so freaking sweet.
That would be incredible. Yeah. Have you, I guess this is kind of a random question, but like when you're on TikTok, are you seeing all of these like lightsaber videos where people are creating stuff like that?
I am seeing, let me tell you, since we started this, okay? Mm-hmm. This is how I know my phone's listening to me. Even now. Mm-hmm. My TikTok has become full of serious Star Wars theories.
Ooh.
Like not comedy, like serious theories. And I'm like, is it because we're talking so much about Star Wars? Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say a serious manner, but more of like actual conversations about it. So maybe my phone's like, this is what you're interested in. Talking about Star Wars and having discussions about it.
Here's the test. We're going to start a podcast about chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets. The whole rest of the week, I want to see chicken nuggets. Actually, shout out to Tyson Chicken. Hey. My wife found that they're doing what's called spooky nuggets, and they're like shapes of like pumpkins and bats and stuff for Halloween.
That's freaking dope.
I want Star Wars nuggets. Could you imagine? Little Ahsoka Tano, little Vader, Millennium Falcon. Yeah, little Grogu head.
That'd be dope. Yeah.
Come out with that. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, we're going to start a chicken nugget podcast. Each week we just taste a different chicken nugget. This week we review Wendy's. Next week we do McDonald's. We just gave somebody We just gave somebody $1 million idea.
Yeah. Any chicken nugget that comes up on my TikTok this week, we're going to share next week. So be ready.
For sure. I wanted to pitch you on an idea.
Okay.
And we'll wrap it up with this. I'm putting this out into the universe just because I've seen a lot of this. I've seen a lot of lightsaber fights and lightsaber like fan-made videos where they're doing like costume changes or like stuff with the lightsaber. But one person I keep on seeing a lot of is the lightsaber kid, who is like, the best way to describe him is he's like a heavy-set guy with his shirt off.
I've seen him.
He's wearing gym shorts. Yeah. I want to get him on this show.
That'd be awesome.
I've got some very serious questions for him, and I wouldn't do it in the sense of making fun of him. I just feel like he's such a fan of Star Wars that I'm like, I'd love to talk to this kid. And also just know how much the internet has changed his life.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's doing what he loves. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that.
So we're going to put that out into the universe. So if anybody knows him, let us know. We'll get in touch or get him in touch with us.
Anybody knows Jimmy, whatever his name is.
Yeah. Star Wars,
Bring him
whatever.
out.
If he's got a cameo, send us it. I'll reach out. But yeah, he's someone. Another one I'd like to get is like, I think we talked about this before, but I want to get like some of the cast members from Disney on to like give us like their Disney horror stories
of like never happen.
But like obviously it'd have to be like ex cast members, right?
So like they worked like 30 years ago.
Or like they were Rey for a year and then they aged out and they were like, sorry, you can't be Rey anymore. Which is a real thing.
There has to be some sort of thing where they can't talk about anything for like 10 or 20 years after.
You think they have NDAs?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. When we were at Disney last, they had like the parade going through and I was at customer service while it was going through. And I looked at Tinkerbell and I was like, what's the average age or like average like lifespan of like a Disney Tinkerbell?
When you can,
like,
how long you can play Tinkerbell?
Yeah, like, you know, like what's the season, right? Like in the NFL,
right.
Your average career is like 3 years. What's Tinkerbell at Disney? Because
right.
Tinkerbell looks young. And this lady like made me so mad. She goes, I don't know what you mean, sir. Tinkerbell lives forever. And I was like, bish, you know what I'm talking about.
Don't you play coy with me. Yeah, I'm not a fish.
Yeah. So that's a good pun. That was a fantastic pun there.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, I'd love to like talk to like Star Wars cast members, but you're right. There's probably an NDA stopping us, but
yeah,
that's
okay. Someday we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But
so Treasure Planet, watch that. If you haven't seen it, anybody out there haven't seen it, check it out. If you haven't seen this week's episode of Ahsoka, check that out. Awesome. I gave it a 9 out of 10. My boy Bryant here gave it a 9.2 out of 10. So check that show out if you haven't seen it. Don't listen to Dave Filoni. You absolutely should watch Rebels if you can before watching Ahsoka. But apparently you don't have to. So
we're going to get so much shit on TikTok for calling him Dave Filoni.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, okay. That's probably a good place to wrap up. So, thank you guys so much for joining us. And as Robby said, do all the fun stuff. Check out all the episodes. I will watch Treasure Planet.
Do it.
You think it's on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll definitely check it out. So, until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. And may the Force be with you.
Always.